So today I wanted to do something a little different. I realized that I have a lot of people who are new to music production and like creating metal inside of Ableton Live. And so what I wanted to do was I kind of wanted to start from next to nothing using... So I've been thinking about this a lot during this whole like preparation that I've just been doing. So I'm gonna try my best to use mainly stock plugins. However, there's going to be some things that I use that I would highly recommend getting because it really skyrockets your music production. And you know, a few of those things are, you know, get good drums. So I'm going to be using Get Good Drums. This is the P5 kit. Very, very good kit. I'm going to be using Nolly Bass by Get Good Drums. Amazing, amazing bass plugin. You don't have to do much to get it to sound really good. And then I'm going to be using like Odin 2, which is a guitar sample plugin. So I was saying that I was going to start from nothing. However, these kind of take a little while to load. And this particular thing right here that you're seeing, all this routing, this is a template that I made for all the homies in Patreon. And so you'll be able to see if I start clicking these, everything is routed out. So then, you know, you can mess with the processing, the mixing right away. And so if you want that, then you can head over to the Patreon. I have routing for P5, One Kit Wonder Architects, P4, One Kit Wonder Metal, and One Kit Wonder Aggressive Rock right now. I plan on doing more depending on, you know, what the homies need. And, you know, these all have something really cool that you can do inside of Ableton, which is label your piano roll, which the piano roll, if you hit tab, you can see there's already some drums in here if you get the template from me. So if you double click on here, you're going to be able to go into your MIDI editor window, and you're going to see that everything is labeled here. Oh, let me do this so you can see it. Let me turn off the chat for a second. What is going on? Strigic. So you can see that everything is labeled here. Kick, snare, snare wires, and everything like that. And if you click on them, everything, you can hear everything. Now, if you can't hear everything, then what you need to do is you need to come up here and hit this little blue, it's like blue headphone thing here. So if it's off, you're not going to be able to hear this. And so, you know, just keep that in mind. But if you hit this little blue arrow, then you'll be able to hear it. Now, if it's too loud, there's a way to turn that down, you know, if you're previewing stuff, which I'll show you later. But now that we have that out of the way, I'm actually going to keep chat off for a second, just so I can show some things up here. Okay, so I said that I was going to use Odin 2. Odin 2 is a sampled DI. So the homies over on at Solemn Tones, they made a guitar sample plugin. Cool thing about it is it's DI guitars. And so, you know, I could show you here in a second, but the same way that these drums are made, which is like bare bones, you know, they're sampled drums, right? But they're multi-sample drums. And so every hit's going to be different in that velocity range. So then it won't sound fake, you know? We want to try to make this sound as realistic as possible. Even if we're just writing to get an idea down. For me personally, I like to hear what a song sounds like almost finished, you know? And so that's kind of why I love using these. Same thing goes for sampled bass. This is a sampled DI bass plugin. However, it has some processing presets here, DI, clean, and heavy. For this one, we'll use the heavy sound. But let me get Odin 2. So if you are just getting Odin 2 for the first time, you are going to have to download it and make sure that it goes into the correct location. If you go to options and then preferences and then plugins, you can see here that it says use VST2 plugins in the custom folder, and then you have the VST3 custom folder, and then you have, you know, just the regular VST3 folder. I would recommend just putting everything in the VST3 folder and letting, basically when when you're installing Solum tones and stuff like that, you'll just keep hitting next, because usually it'll find the default VST2 and VST3 plugins, plugin folder. And so just so you know, and if it doesn't show up, you can hit rescan here, and then you can scan for your plugins. And so what I will do is I will come up here to the top. This is a little search section, and I will type in Odin. And then down here, you'll see where it says all results. There's going to be different things if you have other songs. If the, you know, let's say you're just starting metal, but you've done other songs. Well, here, Odin 2, click and drag, let go, and it's going to create a new track for you here. And then this is Odin 2. So if you click on this little wrench down here, this is Odin 2. However, it's saying select a preset. Now, the cool thing about Odin 2 is you can do one guitar or you can do two guitars. Now, for some of you may be thinking, why two guitars? Well, when you track guitar, let's say, you know, I grab my guitar and I'm tracking guitars. If I want to get that stereo sound, I'll record it once for this side and once for this side. Cool thing about Odin 2 is you can see here panned rhythms essential, and you have panned rhythms expanded. Now these are two different presets, and I can go into that if you would like, but I'm going to choose panned rhythm essentials. So the panned rhythm essentials is basically you have samples on this side and you have samples on this side. So you only have to program once. Well, technically you only have to program once, but you don't have to move your MIDI down on each side. You know what I mean? You just do it once, and right where it lies, that's where everything stays. And so you'll still have pan guitars. So for example, so this is Odin 2. If you hit advance, I usually turn off raw mode, because what raw mode does is it has some string noise and stuff like that. I usually like to keep my stuff a little tight without many errors, just because, again, I want to hear what it sounds like full and ready to go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a MIDI lane so we can start inputting MIDI notes. So what I'm doing is I'm just literally clicking and dragging and highlighting everything here. And I am doing Control Shift M. This creates a new MIDI lane. And so you can see here, this is a piano roll. So that is MIDI DI guitar. Like, where's the distortion? Well, that's where the next thing comes in. So if I double click here again on the Odin 2, it'll bring us to this section here, our like effects section. So this is Odin 2. Now, the other thing that I use for guitar is Neural DSP's Gojira X. This is like my go-to amp here. And so here it is. I just went into the search under all results, make sure you're under all results. Click and drag, let go. Give it a second to load. And then you'll see it appear here. Then you're gonna click on the little wrench. Bam. Okay, so this is Gojira X. This is by Neural DSP. Amazing plugin. Get really good tones really fast, so you don't have to worry about it too much. And the preset that I usually start with inside of here, Gojira JD Rhythm 2. This is usually where I start. The other thing that you need to do if you're doing the panned rhythms, you know, you're just doing that one MIDI lane and you're wanting the left and right guitar on Odin 2, you're going to want to go into your little input mode here and change from mono to stereo. So now we're going to have stereo. It's going to continue to be stereo. Let me just give you an example. I'll keep it on mono, and we'll double click inside our MIDI lane. She's centered right now. So again, double click here, click on the wrench, change this to stereo, and then we'll double click our MIDI lane again. Now it's stereo. Now, I don't know if you hear this, depending on the type of headphones that you're using. Pretty bassy. Now, the thing with guitars is it has a specific role, you know? To me, it's like the mid-range. Mid-range-ish, right? And so what I usually do is I'll come into here in the little EQ section. You can see when I hover over it, it says EQ. I'm going to get rid of, basically you can see here, you have your low end, your low mids, your mids, high mids, and then highs. So I want to get rid of some low ends, I want to get rid of some low end. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of 65 hertz. For me, I like to keep my guitars, I will high pass, basically getting rid of all the low end up to roughly 100 hertz. I say roughly because it really depends on how low of tuning and all of that, because sometimes you want to keep that in there. And so what I'll do is I will bring this all the way down. This is 65 hertz. This is 125 hertz. You can see we don't have 100 hertz. What I'll do here is I'll just kind of bring it down a little bit so it has like this curve here. Another thing I'll bring down is my 4K. Just a little bit. This is where it kind of gets, it has like some annoying high frequencies that I usually would just get rid of with an EQ. And so I try to start here. Okay, so now that we have that set up and you see how we were able to add these things in here like Odin 2, I did the same exact thing on this one. Now this one is a little bit different, but I have a tutorial on how to do this if you wanted to know how. It's on my YouTube channel. But if you don't want to do it, head over to the Patreon, patreon.com/ChrisPedan. It's in the description, and you know, it'd be already done for you. But I would recommend that you do it because you'll learn a lot from it. Okay, so I said that in my clickbaity description that, you know, starting a song is probably the hardest thing for a lot of people. And sometimes it's hard for me as well. However, I have learned some things and like discovered some ways to get the inspiration going. Sometimes it takes longer than other times. But, you know, that's okay. As long as you don't give up while you're in that process, you know. One thing that I will usually go to is like samples. But it's funny, I was talking to one of my Patreon homies, and they were saying, you know, some of these samples, blah, 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 they're kind of weird. And so I was like, how can I go about explaining this and like doing this in a way where everyone can attempt it? And then I thought to myself, well, Ableton has some really great plugins, some great stock like synths and stuff. And so I figured what we can do to start this series off is to get an idea started via those stock instruments. And so, you know, why don't we just get started right away? So the first thing that I will do is I will get rid of these because I don't really need them yet. That's another thing is like grooves. We can get into that later though. Okay, so if you hit the X here and then you go over to audio, I'm sorry, instruments, you are going to see some awesome instruments that Ableton provides if you have Ableton Suite. Now, the ones that I gravitate to are operator, wavetable, and analog. There's also drift. And so what we can do is we can kind of just listen to some things and see if we can come up with some sort of idea. The biggest thing, you know, for me is I like pads in my songs, like really synthy, airy pads. I like arpeggiated, like pluck things. And I love just additional synths to give some more layering to our song. And what I've realized is, you know, you start adding these layers, you are going to, your song is just going to sound a lot more legit and full, you know? And so let's take a look here. And again, I have not prepared for this. The only sort of preparation I did was add these two things. That was it. And so we have to look through together and to see what's in there. So let's see what inside of analog. I hit this little arrow here and it opens the little drop down so you can see all the different presets that it has. I'm going to go into pads. And if you click on it, and then you make sure your little headphone thing over, hopefully you can see my mouse, it's here. There's another little blue headphone thing that's not blue. So as soon as I hit this, you're going to hear. Now, if this is really loud for you, like too loud, if you head over here to this section, this is going to be like your headphone output. That's what I call it anyways. And this controls the volume of where you're, like, how loud or quiet you're going to hear those samples. This does other things too, so just so you know. But this is mainly what I use this for. And so I'll bring this down a little bit and we'll click this one again. Really cool stuff in here. Okay. Now that we're on the pad journey, let's see what these other ones have in terms of pads. So now I'm in drift, doing the same thing. Ooh, I like that one. Awakening pad. I like that one a lot too. So what I'm going to do is I like both of these, Awakening pad and Casino Blips pad. So I'm going to click on Awakening pad, click and hold and drag it underneath Odin 2. So now we have that synth to play with, but I'm also going to add this Casino Blips, just so we have options. So those are the two. Now let's see, let's go into synth leads inside of drift. That one is disgusting. Okay, Crunch Arcade. I'm going to click and drag and add that one. And it's better to have more than you need, because you probably, I mean, maybe you will use all of them, but, you know. This synthetic flute is really awesome as well. I'm going to add that. Let's see what keys there are. That one's really nice too. I'm going to try to go into mallets, because I'm looking for something that we can, like, arpeggiate. We can probably arpeggiate these. That one's nice. Okay, Metropolis Bells. I'm going to click and drag and bring that in. Oh, look, guitar unplugged. This one's a nice Trinidad Plucks. Click and drag and bring that in. Okay, so we have some stuff to start out. I want to try to find, you know what? I think we have what we need in terms of pads. Okay, so let's start with, let's do Awakening pad for now. I'm going to click and activate or record arm this. Now we record arm our instruments, so then when we hit our MIDI keyboard or our regular keyboard, we'll be able to hear it. Now, if you want to just use your keyboard to hear what it sounds like, up here, you're going to see the little piano icon here. If you click that and then start, So if you press Z on your keyboard, you are going to go down an octave. And if you're going to hit X on your keyboard, you're going to go up an octave. So I'm going to hit X a few times. And then I'm going to go from A, S, D, F right here. So I'm really high. So if I hit Z once, Z again, and then A, Z, A. Okay. So now we have the ability to, if you want to play it in, you are more than welcome to. I have a lot of delay going through my headphones, so I can't do that right now. But I will plan to do that at some point soon. So we want to add an idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, let's go to about the number 4 here. And then I'm going to do Control-Shift-M to create a new MIDI lane. You can see I screwed up here. You see this? So I'm going to delete this one. And I'm going to try to hit the very edge here. And then click and drag over to 4. Control-Shift-M. So I'm going to create a new one. Now this, oh, I see what I did here. I need to actually bring this over to 8. Delete this. And, oh, I'm sorry. This is technically 8 bars. Number 9 is technically 8. So you can see 4, 8. So I need to have 4. Control-Shift-M. And we may even use just 2. You see how it's split up here between the dark and the light? And so what I'm going to do, we may even use just 2, but I'll keep the 4 for now. We don't have to use all 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. So if you double click in here, you're going to come to your MIDI section again. Now there's some important things that you have to start to think about. And it really depends on how you start your song. And the other thing to think about too is like how fast, how slow you want the song. One way that you can go about doing that is up here. You have a circle, outline circle, and then a filled in circle. This is going to be your metronome. If you click on that, it's going to input it, or it's going to turn it on, I'm sorry. If I hit the stop here and then I hit play, you should be able to hear it, but I don't know why you're not. This is very interesting. Unless you guys can hear it and I can't, and I think it's just my headphones. Maybe you can. Let me know. Riffy, what's going on, dude? So I'm doing kind of a beginner series, man, for the homies. For the people who are just getting started with Ableton and wanting to write some metal. It's not as hard as you think, and I wanted to show you how. You know, you can hear it. Okay, thank you, Strizix. I think there's some sort of like gating going on. I just updated my headphones, and I really wish that I didn't. Okay, so typically I like to go roughly around 115 BPM. You can see next to where it says tap, you're gonna have these numbers here. This is gonna be your BPM. If you click it, it's not going to show like, you know, when you click in like a text box where it shows the little line. It's not going to do that. So if you click here, let's do 120. I just hit 120 and then I'm going to hit enter. So now we're in 120 BPM. Let's see if I could turn this up so I can hear it more. Yeah, I can hear it. Okay. Okay, so now we have our timing, which again, it's not a huge deal because we're not recording any audio into this. We are just doing MIDI. And the cool thing about doing MIDI is you can change the tempo whenever you want and you don't have to re-record anything. This is the ultimate sketch tool, is doing everything through MIDI. And then when you're ready, you showed the boys in the band are like, sick, let's go. Singer's like, I love it. He gets vocals down. Then we need to re-record guitars. Everything's already solidified by then in terms of BPM, key, all that. So then you're pretty set in stone at that point. But up until then, you can change the tempo. You can change the key. You can change the guitar notes without having to re-record guitar. You just move the MIDI up and down, and I'll show you. Okay, so all that out of the way, we are in 120 BPM. We have our metronome on, and then we have our MIDI lane created, or MIDI clip created, should I say. Next thing, the way that I approach it is like, okay, I'm going to potentially play this live. And so, you know, depends on how many guitars you have. If you're the guitarist, or, you know, your guitarist, if you're not the guitarist, ask your guitarist the lowest tuning can go. Because metal, you know what I mean? And so for me, I have a 7-string guitar, and the lowest tuning that I like to go on my guitar, personally, is G sharp. And so what I usually think of is like, okay, that's the lowest that I can go. Now with the MIDI guitar, I'll give you an example. If I create a MIDI lane just like I did here, click and drag, Control Shift M, the lowest that you can go inside of Odin 2 is C1, which is like, that's like North Lane territory. C sharp is North Lane territory. And if you want to know how to do that, I have videos on that as well. But there's ways to get around that on your guitar to get down there, this and that. However, let's just try to keep it simple. Lowest I can go is G sharp on my guitar. So again, if you have a guitarist, ask him what the lowest he can go. If he can go lower, like F sharp, let's go F sharp, you know? For me personally, it's G sharp. So now we are setting guidelines for ourselves. First guideline, we got the G sharp. So lowest we can go. So then when we start to program things, we can actually tell Ableton, which I need to lower my cam. We can tell Ableton the scale and the note and everything here, which I think you could see that. Yeah. Okay. So if you click here, you're going to start to see all these lines. This is telling you these are all the good notes that you can play in C major. So next to scale, you'll see C major. I like to write in minor. And if you don't know what major and minor is, don't have to worry about that too much. Just think, the way that I think about major and minor is major happy, minor sad. And your boy wants to be sad. He likes to listen to sad music. And, you know, another way you could think about it is a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyone in the chat? But I like to write in minor. So I will switch this to minor. And again, lowest we can go is G sharp. So what I will do is I will go to this C here, and I will put this on G sharp. I know you didn't see that. Let me do this so you could see it. So there's a drop-down MIDI that comes up. G sharp, minor. Keep it simple. G sharp, minor. So now you can see these are all the notes in G sharp minor that we can use that are good. But you can see that there's some that are black. Those notes aren't highlighted because they're not in that scale. Let's make it a step easier and not even have to think about that. Up here, you'll see a fold section and you'll see a scale section. If you click the scale section, the only thing that you see is the good notes, is the right notes. And so, cheat code, Ableton Live, the best. Yes. What's going on? Kid Mosquito, Strigic minor equals melancholy. I love that. I love that. This is the homies in chat. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. I'm doing a little beginner series for the homies. Okay. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to just start noodling around, right? So again, to keep that kind of sort of pattern here, G sharp is the lowest note that we can go. And so we can add a note to G sharp just to hear what it sounds like. And the way I did that was I just double click. Another way to do that is if you hit B on your keyboard, you're going to have a pencil tool. Now, Mr. Bill, I watched a lot of Mr. Bill, and he started calling it the Bencil tool. And I think that's a good way to remember that hotkey inside of Ableton. B is for pencil tool, so just call it the Bencil tool. And so if you click on it once, it's going to make a note. If you click on it again, it's going to get rid of the note. Now, if you want to make the note longer, there's a few ways to do that. You can actually hit the legato button up here, and it'll basically make it the whole lane. Now, if you just want it, you want to decide on the very edge, you're going to see it, the icon turn into a different little icon. And so you can choose how long you want it there. Now, let's see if we can make some sort of chord shapes in here. And so I started one on G. I'm actually going to get rid of the pencil tool. I only use it sometimes. And then I want to start messing around again with notes and just listening. I don't know much music theory, but the cool thing about this scale tool is you just need to use your ear. You know what sounds good and doesn't sound good. And so just use that to your advantage. So the way that I did that, I just duplicated that note, my G note here. I held Control and I clicked and dragged. I'm going to come in here and see if I can turn down the wet dry effects a little bit for now. And then I'll bring my cutoff filter. Actually, let's leave that up. I'm going to double click again and come in here. Okay, so that's our chord right now. If I click and highlight them, if you have your headphone thing turned on, then you're going to be able to hear it when you highlight it. So it sounds like this. Wants to go up one more. Okay, that one's okay. Let's click this one. Bring it down. That's cool. Now let's listen to it. That's really cool. However, we didn't make it long enough. Let's make it here on 3. Okay. Now, the way that I did that, because I want it to go again, I literally highlighted them all. Let me do that again. I'm going to highlight them all so you can see they're highlighted. And I'm going to hit Control D. And that just duplicates it. Now there's some little trickery with the duplicating, which I will get into when we get into like drum programming and stuff. Okay, so let's change this second chord here. So I'm going to highlight this one, go up maybe 2. For no reason at all, just to hear what it sounds like. Now we can do this. Maybe we could bring this one up. Now I want to hear what it sounds like looped. I want to keep hearing these 2 notes. And in order to do that, or the way you do that inside of Ableton Live, the easiest way that I found is if you click on one of your clips, doesn't matter which one, as long as the clip, the loop length that you want. If you click it and you hit Control L, it automatically engages your loop function here, which is up here. Now, if you didn't want to do it that way, you can decide up here. You can just click and drag for how long you want that loop to last. Now the cool thing is, just listening to it more than, once, you almost, and really try to listen and feel that intuition of like, ooh, I want it to change here. If you ever feel that, try to take advantage of that feeling and do that thing. And so you can see that we only have one repetition of this. However, I want it to go again. And so the way that you go about doing that is you click here. So your MIDI clip is highlighted, and you hit Control D, and that's going to duplicate it another time. And you can do that, you know, infinite number of times as you want. However, I only need it this one additional time for now. Now again, we want it to loop twice. So again, we can do this. We can hold Shift to select multiples and do Control L, or you can just click and drag and bring this to make it a little bit longer. Monty, what's going on? Birthday, what's going on? Are you trying to make a trap metal track? Dude, I have been wanting to do that. And so that's going to be something that I explore very, very, very soon, because I'm addicted to hard wave music. And if you don't know what hard wave is, you probably do. You just don't know that it was called hard wave. So Google hard wave, or go to YouTube and type in hard wave. I love that stuff so much. Oh, by the way, 2 Minute Concern, Waves is having a sale. Got the SSL G Master bus comp and R bass for €68. This unlocked a free choice plugin and got the SSL G channel for free. Let's go. That is one of my favorite plugins, is the SSL bus comp. And we're going to use that. We're definitely going to use that in this session here. And so, you know, if you're here now, or if you're just recently watching, check out the sale. I would highly recommend it, because I put it on every single session ever. So just a single note in order to go lower than F sharp, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that is something, yes. Hate waves. Don't like having to buy the same plugin over and over again. So I love waves. I haven't had to buy it. I only bought it once, and that was the only time that I bought it. And it's great. I love waves so much. Okay, so we have 2 repetitions. However, I want this to be different. How? I don't know. We need to explore. So a lot of this, again, just comes down to using your ear. Sometimes it's good to get that sort of context. Because you can be stuck trying to find a chord, but if you don't know what it's going to sound like going into it, but also going into it may give you the idea. Like this one, I felt like it wanted to go down. So now we still have some weird notes. Let's listen to it together. So if I click from the beginning here. Okay, there's a weird note in here. Okay, so we have some chords here. Do we love the chords? They're okay. Now, if we don't like them a lot, we can always mess around with them, you know? Let's just do this and just see what happens. so let's do something like this. I will bring this, grab this, Control D to duplicate it, and then bring it up. These two notes. Let's try that. Cool enough. So now we have kind of our pad section here. Now we can start to listen to these other little things that we liked. I already forgot what they were, but that's okay, because if we arm them and then we use our keyboard. Okay, let's see what this one is. That's a really cool sound, man. I say we save that one. Okay, let's see what this one was. Okay, let's mess around with this little pluck here. What I immediately want to add is some reverb to it. So up here on the search, we're just going to type in reverb. And we have to make sure that we are on all results. So then we click and drag. You see reverb here. There's a lot of different things. If you have some stuff like additional plugins and samples and stuff that say reverb in it, this is like a master search here. I just want reverb for now. So if we click and drag and bring that into, you see how this one's highlighted? This is the one that we're using. So if I click and drag and bring it in here, it's going to add the reverb here. And then right here is your wet and dry. So you can play it still. So I want it to be a little bit longer. So I want to bring up the decay. Sweet. I'm going to get rid of a little bit of the low end by clicking the low here and bringing this down. Sweet. That's good enough for now. So I'm going to make another MIDI lane here. I'm going to hit Control-Shift-M. And then we're just going to listen. Now you should still have your G-sharp scale thing here. You can see I'm still in there. And if it's not, just make sure that you engage it and turn it to G-sharp minor, if that's, again, the lowest you can go on your guitar. So let's hit stop so we go to the beginning and let's listen again. I'm actually going to bring my loop back just because that's how long our clip is here. So the cool thing about having, this scale kind of condense everything that sounds right is you can just start clicking notes and you'll probably immediately get inspired. So I'm going to start moving this around. And the way that I'm moving this around is with my arrows on my keyboard. I'm going to duplicate it with Control D. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab... I'm okay with that. I'm going to grab all of them. Now, keep note on where I'm selecting. You see how I didn't just select these like this? Reason why is I want to duplicate these over to the next section here. The best way to do that is you see this little like light blue This is what it's duplicating, but this is where it's going to duplicate to. So if I hit it now, you can see it brings it right there. Now, sometimes if you do that on accident, it might be cool. So just listen to it. Okay, so in that case, it wasn't that cool, but that's okay. We can go over once. Let's just see what happens. So that inspires new potential ideas. Let's grab these. Let's bring this one here. So that whole part is cool. So I want to make this whole section, I want to put it twice here. So again, I'm going to grab it from here. Keep note of that light blue section up there. Do you see it up there? This one? See how it's this whole bar? Now if I hit Control D, it's going to go in the exact same place on this section that it is in this section. So I want it to be a little different here. I'm going to do something like this. I just want to hear from here. So if I click here and do Control Space. Cool, now we have a pluck. The key is to just keep the momentum going, you know? Let's start adding something in that really cool, I think it was this one. Okay, so there's multiple ways that you can add these effects to any which way that you want. This is why I highly encourage that you experiment, because what I'm about to do may not be what you would do with this particular sound. But you should go and try it, because if you have Ableton Suite, you have the same sound. You know what I mean? Strigic, dude, thank you so much for the Prime, man. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate the Prime. Okay, so let's listen. That's such a sick sound. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's start like, let's just see what happens if we do something like this. I'm gonna highlight them all. If I hold Shift and hit the arrow down, it's gonna go an octave down. Now again, try the things. If you have an idea, let's see what it sounds like lower, let's see what it sounds like higher. So I already hear something. Let's try it. Okay, so I hear it going somewhere else on the second repetition. So then we can Control D and bring that on the second time. Let's do that for this one as well. And then we are going to click and drag to make our loop this long. Don't be afraid to hum things, you know what I mean? Let's do... really cool. Okay, so we have 3 parts that we've just made, and you can see that it wasn't too hard, and I didn't focus too much on like the fine details. I'm just trying to get inspired. I'm getting the inspiration going, you know? I'm not trying to stay forced or focused on one part for too long, because these things are going to change, because your little inspiration light bulbs are going to like go off, and you're going to be like, okay, I need to try this. I need to try that, blah, blah, blah. Hi, is there much difference between Odin and Ample's Sound Hellraiser in terms of sound quality? I don't know, man. I've never used Ample Sound. I only use Odin and Hydra. Both are great. Again, I've never used the other one, bro. But I highly recommend Odin. I think it's one of the best sounding right now. Although there is someone else that I am currently beta testing. Another guitar sample plugin. Sounds really awesome. And so stay tuned for that. Okay, so let's see what this sound is. Okay, let's mess around with this one just for fun. Let's make it 2 bars. Why not? Control Shift M. Oof. So the cool thing about this, let me just kind of take a step back for a second and just say, you see how I'm layering all of these all in one little section here? I think that, you know, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest struggles that I've had was getting stuck in the loop. And this is one way to do this. However, if you think that this is only one part, then you get stuck in that loop. Now, the reason why I'm stacking all these together is because this is all playing the theme, right? We are generating the theme as we speak. Some of these aren't going to stay here. They're going to move to different sections. However, I'm using all of these as one little unit to get inspired and have these other sounds stay in that overall theme. So that's why I'm just adding in here. Like, let's try to use all of these, because chances are we may delete one. I don't know, but we can use it in another section possibly, you know? So, all right, carry on, carry on. Cool, okay, so this sound, this one's really cool, and I already kind of hear something. Again, keep it simple. Usually you can start simple like this and then start adding things in it. Now this is kind of a quiet sound, and let's investigate why. Okay, so it has a volume here. So let's bring that up. There's also a lot of like the white noise sound, and we need to see why that is. It could be something in here. I know this is for, if you're new, this looks intimidating, but you know, don't worry about it too much. So there's a noise button here. So there's OSC1, OSC2, and noise. I just turned down the noise. And the way I got there was I clicked this button here, and then I double clicked. You can see it looks like this. I double clicked in here and it opened. This is drift. This is a synthesizer. And so I just brought the noise down. I'm going to bring this all the way up to 0 because it's kind of a quiet sound. So we're getting some clashing notes here. This. Let's see. Cool. For now, that's good enough. Actually, I'm going to double click inside of here again. Select from the bar. Let's do... Sweet. Now, maybe for the sake of time, I won't use this, but I won't get rid of it. But now we have some sort of starting position of like, okay, we have kind of a theme for what's going on. Now we can go off and start to program drums right away. If you don't want to program drums, or if you're just like, I just want to hear what a groove sounds like that in it, Get Good Drums has some really good grooves that you can purchase through their store. They're not that expensive. My favorite ones are the Brody Simpson, the Matt Halpern P5 MIDI pack. I've been using that a lot lately. The other ones are the Fetty MIDI pack. That one's really good as well. Has really technical grooves in it if you want to try to get a little bit more technical. However, for this, we'll just use something from the Halpern P5 MIDI pack. And then let's go. So we're in 120 right now. However, we don't have to stay. So these have BPMs here. We don't have to stay there. Let's go into 140. Cool. Let's use that one. So if I click song 1, groove 2 up here and currently playing, I'm going to click and drag this into my little drum lane here, which is, this is where my contact instrument is. It's called kick, but this is where my contact instrument is. Kind of like these here that we added. That's where this is, so I have to put this there. So now we have drums. And you're like, wow, why is it like it's so quiet? Drums are so quiet. Now, instead of trying to bring your drums up, I would recommend you bring everything down. So I'm going to click on the top one here, and I'm going to click down to the bottom one here, holding shift. And I'm going to, over here, you can see your little volumes, and I'm going to bring it down. And we can go, maybe the lower the better, because then we can always bring it up. That's good enough for now. Let me bring up my volume so I can hear. Hopefully it's not too loud for you guys. Okay, so now that we have a drum groove, which I will not just use drum grooves, I promise you, because I think drum programming, and it's kind of a big thing in itself, which I can get into. However, for the sake of this and being a beginner, bam. Now the cool thing is you have everything here. Everything is, you know, your drum groove is done. Now if I click down here, there's like another section. This is your velocity section. And so what you want to do is with Get Good Drums, they have like sweet spots for their samples. And with sweet spots, another way to look at it is like, you know, you have your soft hits, your medium hits, you know, your light medium, your hard medium, and your really hard. Now, depending on the drummer and depending on the music, usually you'll be around the hard medium to medium kind of. And where I found that to be was in 100 in the velocity here. So this goes from 1 to 127 or 0 to 127. I think it's 1. And so what I need to do is, you can see these are like our kicks and stuff. So if I scroll all the way down and click on kick, so all of our kicks are way up there. There's some dynamics going on. However, I need the hardest hit to be at 100. So if I click on my kick here, you can see it highlights them all. And then you're going to see that it actually turns them light blue compared to this regular blue here. And so what I need to do is I need to hold down shift, click on any one of the light colored dots, click and hold and drag down until it says 100. Now my camera's blocking it, but you can see here on the left there, right here, it shows 100. And so that's the hardest that our kick is going to go. There's going to be some lower stuff, and that's okay. And if you program yourself, it may not be as drastic as this. However, Matt like played these, so that's why it looks like this. I'll bring this one up a little bit. Okay. Now let's do the snare. The snare sweet spot for me is 106. So I'm going to click here and click on the top one on 127. Hold Shift. 106 for the hardest hit. Now, again, there's going to be some ghost notes here. This is what these lower velocities are. Those are ghost notes. Now, the next thing, if you scroll up, and if you're labeled, you'll see crash left far hit, which you can't see, sorry. Oh, wait, maybe you can. Yeah, you can see it. These ones I like to bring to 100 because they're accents. Now, if this one here, it's writing on there, you got to think a drummer's not going to go like this. And so he's not going to be at 127. He's going to kind of groove into it, you know what I mean? If you watch Matt or watch any other drummers, they're not hitting it crazy hard, depending on the part. So for this spot, about 94-ish. Okay, so now let's listen to it again. And we may need to turn these down a little bit more. Well, let's see. Yep. But that's okay. So let's bring these down a little bit more. Let's take a look at our meters here. If I hit tab, it'll bring me into like little mixer section or session. I think it's session view, and then there's clip view and session view. So you could see on our meters here, and I actually have mine extended so that I could see these numbers. And I just did that by clicking here, and you'll see it turn into like this little up and down arrow thing. And I just brought it up so I can see these numbers. We're actually at a healthy range right now. We're at about -6 on like the highest peak, which is good. That's all you need to know right now. So now that we have our drum part, really the next part is putting the kick. This is the fastest way to get it going. If you grab your kick, Control C to grab everything, and then if you go into your bass, we need to make a new MIDI lane, the same length as this drum clip. Control Shift M. And we need to click in the beginning so it knows. You see how it's like kind of glowing blue here? That's the beginning of our section. So if we hit Control V, then it brings our bass, our kick into our bass. Now this is nice because now our bass is following what our kick is doing, which for now is fine. You can always delete and add to the bass, but at least we have a foundation. And the first thing that I do is I will come in and I will find when my icon changes, and I will click and drag. So now they're legato notes. They're just kind of like sustained notes, right? And so, but you see I can't hear it. It's because Nolly bass doesn't go that low. So if you have your input monitor enabled, the little blue headphones, then you'd be able to hear it. And so this is not because we're not enabled. It's because it's too low. So if we click on it so we can select everything, go up arrow. Oh, there it is. And again, our lowest note is G sharp. For me, anyways. Okay. So now, if we just hit play, just from here, okay, we have bass, sick, right? But you're just like, wow, it's way too loud. Okay, so then we come over here to the bass. Up here, we're going to be able to turn it down. Now, what I usually do is I'll bring it all the way down, hit play, and bring it up to where I feel like it sounds like it's matching with like my kick drum or a little bit louder. That's good enough for now. This also means that we may need to start turning these down a little bit more. Okay, next thing to think about is, do we want everything to go here? Maybe not. Let's bring this and put this here. This is, we're already getting out of the loop, you can see, which is great. So this is going to be for a different section. What is this here? We hit stop, so we'll go to the beginning. This would be a nice intro, I think. So now, okay, this would be a nice intro. Let's make it an intro. So I'm going to click and highlight everything. Another way we can do that, actually, is if we make our loop to the end of where our song is, and we click, it's going to highlight it blue like this. Now, this is technically selecting everything. So if I grab from here, then I could start to bring it, you know, 1 bar, 2 bars, whatever. I'm going to go up to 3 here. And then I'm going to grab just this section here. And I'm going to drag it over here. However, before you let go, press Control. Press and hold Control. Then let go. You basically just duplicated what you selected. Okay, I'm going to make sure we unsolo. Okay, now we're getting some context. We have an intro, and it sounds like we just want to go big here. However, there's note changes that I don't want to happen yet. And so what I'm going to do, and again, this is this intuition thing. I didn't predetermine the song. You see me have to discover everything in here. But as you are writing, again, you're going to get these moments. Try the things, right? So let's move this here for now. And this right here, whatever's happening here, I want this to continue to do this. Now, there's multiple ways that we can kind of just have it continue to do this. The easiest way that I found for me is I'm going to grab this because this is already a thing that we did, and I want to savor it. I want this to continue all the way up until there. So I'm going to click and highlight this clip and hit Control D because I just wanted to do that. Okay, so now let's just take a listen and see what it sounds like with just this thing here. Yo, Session, what's going on, dude? Okay. Now, I don't know what you heard, but I heard this part going up. Just like, I don't know, a few semitones. And so what I'll do is I'll come here. Let's try B2. And then I'm going to come into the bass. And it's this last section here. Oh, do you notice something? You can see that it's not, the whole thing isn't yellow. And the reason why is because we don't have our scale turned on. Exactly, Strigic. So we need to turn on scale mode, make sure we are in G sharp minor. So now we only have good notes, no bad notes. Again, there's no wrong notes, but you know what I mean. Okay, let's do another context check. We learning, baby. Oh, look. You see how I made this one full bar, but this was only half a bar? You can notice it right away. So from here, you could see, I want it to be like this. And so we just need to make it, and you could see we have an overlap here, which that's okay. I'm going to leave it like that. Should be fine. Yo, what's going on, Joe? How we feeling, man? Look, we already got another section here if we wanted to go there. So we're already starting to go horizontal. This is kind of a thing that we say here, going horizontal. We want to go this way. We can go this way for a little bit, but our goal is to go this way. So go horizontal. Keep it horizontal as often as you can. But if you're writing and you're kind of get some ideas going, it's okay to go vertical for a little bit, but don't get weird. You don't have to get weird right away. You know, don't lose your momentum. Okay, so now let's see what it sounds like with the guitars. Now, the cool thing about writing in MIDI is we could take what is going on here in our bass, hold the control, click and drag down to our guitars, which is Odin 2. Now, the thing with Odin 2 is bass, you know, it's an octave lower, technically. So we need to come in here, Control A to select everything, hold Shift and up arrow. Now we can hear it. Did you hear it? So before we start to really dive in and be like, oh, we want to change it, well, let's just listen to what it sounds like. It sounds like we need to bring it up a little bit. Also, another thing we need to turn down is our toms. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to hit the down arrow. When you hit the down arrow and when you click on your volume here and you hit the down arrow, you're going down by 1 dB or up by 1 dB. So I want to hear where the toms sound again. So I'm going to click here. You can see the toms are here. Sweet. Good enough for now. But you hear we have guitars now, and it was that easy. Now I want to hear this pluck a little bit more. And I want to hear this sound a little bit more too. Now, I want to hear this a little bit more spread out. See how it's really in the center? Now, there's a free plugin that you can download. It's free, I promise. And it's called Wider. Make sure you're in all results. If you add Wider to this, it literally does what the plugin's called. So you can see it has one knob and a percentage, and it says Wider. Polyverse, Infected Mushroom, Wider. Google it, it's free. So as you bring this up, it's going to make it wider. So listen. Sounds awesome. I want even more reverb here. Bring the snare down. We already have something going. If we wanted to go into like a little bit of a lower verse there, we could. We just need to do that, and then we can bring in the section here. And it really depends. Again, it's dealer's choice here. We can have it just go this long, or I'm sorry, this long, and then go straight into the drums here. You know, it's up to you. It really is up to you. Now, one thing is, do we want to go there? We can go there if we want. However, maybe we don't. You know, we can take this last section here and we'll move it out of the way, because then we can possibly start to work on something else here, possibly. Or we don't have to go there at all, and we could just start working on another potential idea, right? Let's say that we want to add like another section where it just gets thick. I don't know. Even thicker than that. Let's see if we can program this just from scratch, right? And I may not do the whole thing right away, but we'll see how long it takes. Video's getting kind of long. It's already at an hour 20 here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let's see, how long are we here? This might be too long. Let's get another context check here. Okay. Let's add some sections here. Let's start just doing a little bit of drum programming. And I'm not going to get too crazy with explaining too much, because, I mean, the basics apply here. Everything that I'm going to be doing, unless otherwise I will explain it, it's just going to be, you know, pencil tool sometimes, double clicking, and highlighting and bringing velocities down. The biggest thing here that you're going to notice, though, is I'm going to be looping a lot. I'm going to be re-listening so I can just get the vibe, you know? And so, you know, don't be afraid to do that. Let's add something in there to give us a little bit of inspiration. Let's put this in here. Let's go down. And then let's try to mix it up here and do something like this. Again, not even thinking about it. You know what we can do? This is actually a good little exercise that you can do, that I always encourage people to do, is literally just start clicking things in. I'm in the pencil tool. Keep that in mind. Now, don't be afraid of, don't worry about timing too much, because you're going to hear it back and you're going to hear where it's wrong. But sometimes the wrong may not be wrong and it might be sick. So just let it happen, you know. And there could be too many. So, you know, think about that too. Okay, let's add this again, which I'm just going to highlight it and hit Control D so we can hear it again. And it looks like we need to make this actually longer here, because this is actually technically 2 bars. This is like 1.5 bars. So the easiest way that you can do that is if you just highlight the rest, hit Control Shift M, and then select both of them and do Control J to consolidate. Now you have the exact bar that you want, you know, the time. And then let's add one here. And then let's just click randomly in here. Okay. done. You know what I mean? Like our kick pattern is done. And didn't even really have to think about it. And again, the cool thing about our kicks being at 100 is when you immediately click on your pencil tool and you click, you're at 100. And so our kick is technically good. Now we can worry about doubles and stuff. We can do that for sure. However, I'm going to take this and put this on the bass, and so I won't worry about that too much yet. Next part is the snare, and this is up to you, dude. It's up to you, man. Wherever you want to put it, you can. Now, where I usually try to go is, you know, something like about here. Then we put it here. And then if I hit Control and click and drag, you can also double click. Now I want this to go the whole time. Now there's a way that, you know, you can grab this here and go to the bar and, you know, it'll be the right thing. However, sometimes it'll be a little confusing on where this lies. And so another way that you can go about doing this is if you select all of them and you hold Control and duplicate them, and then you just overlap onto this one, it's going to place it where it should go. Now with Ableton, you don't have to worry about your overlaps playing. It just deletes your overlap. So just so you know. Okay, so now we just need to get rid of this one. Now we have our kick and snare done. This is already going to be sick. I can already hear it. Okay, so there's another thing here. And again, this is dealer's choice. A lot of this stuff is dealer's choice. So if you want to keep this, then keep it. However, I don't always like my kick and snare to align. And so you'll notice, if you look, and again, if you have the labels like I do, which you can get it on the Patreon, you could see my kick and my snare, sometimes they're on the same. Now, again, I don't always like that. So what I'll do is I'll hit my pencil tool and I'll just come in and clean up this here and just get rid of these. Now, sometimes, rather than having my kick here like this, my favorite thing to do is have it right before. So if I just hit my left arrow, that's my favorite thing to do. You can easily overdo it though, but you know, who really cares? So I'll show you what this sounds like. This is really cool. So I'm going to put it here just so you can hear it. Right, cool. Now let's move it and listen to it again. Favorite thing. It's so good. Now, what do we want this to be? Do we want this to be thick? Do we want this to be kind of like pretty genty, but like, you know, a chorusy type of gent, like a Tesseract thing maybe? This depends on where you put your cymbal, you know? Like we can do open hat right here. And so I'll just do here, here, grab the 2 again from the bar, and then just Control D all the way. Because we want to quickly know if this is cool or not, right? We're just kind of what's the word? There's a word. Oh, there's a word that I wish I can. Anyways. Turn off the click. Stridgic, I don't know if troubleshooting is the right word. What is the word that I'm looking for? I don't know. I'll figure it out. If I remember, I'll throw it in the comments. Okay, now let's listen to it on the stack. Now that we have these, we can put these anywhere we want. Let's put it on a stack. I'm down. Now, what I want to do is I want to start with maybe 2 cymbals there, boom, and then he goes into the stack. So let's do a right hit and then a left hit. And then we'll get rid of this one because you know, you can't do 3 things at once with 2 hands, you know. Sick. Okay, so now we have our general drum beat down. Cool thing is we have our bass done pretty much, because if we just click on the kick here and we hit Control C and we hit this down arrow here, we can come and see, okay, now we need to go to our bass section, highlight all that, Control Shift M, click inside of here and hit Control V. Now this is our bass pattern following our kick pattern. And again, we can't hear it because we are too low. But also, again, what do you notice? Scale mode isn't turned on. Scale, G sharp, minor. And you can see this was technically out, but that's okay, we don't care. Okay, so let's start. Let's start on that there. Now I'm gonna leave it like this just to hear what it sounds like. Sounds sick. However, sounds a little artificial. And I think the reason why is these are a little too short. Some of them are going to have to stay short like these. However, I'm going to bring these out just a little bit. If I right click here, you're going to be able to have different grid lengths. So you have quarters, eighths, 16ths, 32nd. So I'm going to go to 32nd and I'm going to try to bring it one more. And again, I selected all of them before I did that. So these, I'm going to make these longer because then we can start, we'll go into our next section. Again, we're thinking about the next section already, the horizontal. We're going horizontal. Oh, it's already sick. Come on, don't lie to me. You already know it's sick. Okay, so now I'm going to go and bring this immediately, because I want to know what it sounds like, down a guitar. And I just held Control, clicked and dragged down, double click inside here, and we need to take it an octave up. So Control A to select all, Shift up arrow. Now we can hear it. However, I want them to be palm mutes. Bam, 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 bam. So then, basically here, right now it's at 100. I want them, cool thing about Odin is if you go anything from like, I think it's 35 to like 20, maybe a little lower, that's your palm mute velocity range. And so this is what's so cool about writing quickly with Odin. It's like, okay, I want palm mutes. Okay, let me just bring this down. I'm at 30. Let's go 33. Yo, Josh, what the heck is going on, player? Thank you, man. Appreciate the mother freaking sub, my guy. Sessions, what kit you working? Dude, so session, I am using P5 today, dude. PV. That's that PV life. Okay, so next, see, we have this. Now, what I'm hearing is I'm hearing some like little open notes. Da-da, da-da-da, right? So maybe we can do it at here. I'm going to make this all the way to the next guy here. I'm going to select this one and bring it open. And you hear I didn't do it on the guitar yet. I mean on the bass yet because we didn't program that yet. And that's okay. And then let's do maybe right here. Let's continue to listen. You heard that sound. I'll get to that in a minute. Yep, it sounds like it wanted to be right there, so I'll go like this. So how this goes dun 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 dun. I want it to go dun dun dun. I want this to be an octave higher. And I just held shift and went up arrow. And then I want it to be as long as this note here. So again, a lot of this comes down to just listening and putting it where you think it sounds cool. I'm just doing this randomly. We'll do this. Right? Okay, so just for time's sake, and you know, you kind of get the idea there. What I'm going to do is I want the bass to do the same thing as well. And the fastest way that I go about doing that is I basically click this arrow, grab my guitars, and bring it back up to my bass with the updated notes. Double click in here. Click inside of it so we're in our MIDI section. Control A to select all. Shift, arrow down. Just so we're in that bass range, right? Then we need to bring our velocities up, because the bass is going to basically just do the same thing. And I want them to be the same because I want my bass to be consistent. And I'm going to bring it down to 100. Okay, so now if we wanted to, we're just building this part up. You can see we're just building it up into layers. Like it's not hard. You could see I wasn't really thinking about any of this. I didn't have to light 4 candles and get in like this mood to get inspired. Like I'm just like exploring. That's what it is, you know. And so let's start to think about ghost notes really quick. I'm going to take a look here before I start to explain it. Okay, so we're going to have to stay in 16th notes. So if I right click again, just go to 16th. Now, I want to be able to see all the drums at once. So you have to see how I have to scroll to see the cymbals. If I fold up here, if I hit this fold button, it's basically showing me everything that has a note, but it condenses it and gets rid of all the others for now. If you don't want that, just click fold again and it goes away. So I want to mess with ghost notes. Now it's easy to get carried away with ghost notes, and it's easy to place them in the wrong place, which is not always the wrong place. And again, a lot of this is dealer's choice, dude. So for me, what I've realized is whenever because I'm a drummer, you know, and I think about when I'm playing, like this is a ghost note here for me, the sand. And what I've learned is whenever I hit this, I want a ghost to hit right away. Sometimes a double. And so here, see my stack is? This is what I'm thinking. Dun, 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 dun. And so that's a good place to start. If we place one here, and then we come down here. Oh yeah, so if you see just these dots, it's because you're in your pencil tool. And you need to get out of it by hitting B, pencil tool. And we need to bring it down. And if we just want to hear the drums, we can just hear the drums. So let's start out by just putting them wherever we see that's a place that doesn't have anything, but it's right after a stack. Okay, right there. Looks like the kick is in the way with that one, so we can't. We could probably put it here. Here. And actually, before we do that, I don't want to confuse you here, so I'm going to actually go back. You see how this one is darker? I want them all to be dark. Now, there's a cool thing that you can do inside of Ableton to kind of make your default velocity. When you double click, see how it's 100? When I do it down here, it's 100. Now, there's a way to override that. If you double click and hold, and then drag, you're going to be able to choose the velocity. See how it shows the number there? So I'm going to go roughly to where that first one is. And so now when I double click, the default changes. Now just keep that in mind when you start to program your next parts, that it's going to be down. And the way that you change that again is you double click and scroll up to 100 or 106 if you're doing snare, you know? So just keep that in mind. I made this too small. Okay. Here and here. See, there's more. Okay. After the stack. We're thinking after the stack, anywhere after the stack, we can do it. Looks like here we can do it. Here. Here. Okay, so just that step one after the stack, let's hear what it sounds like. Sweet. Now there's some places where, I don't know if you heard it too, but you could probably get away with some doubles like that. Da, da. One is here. And I'll let you hear what that sounds like. Right? Looks like we can do it here as well. Maybe we can do something like this. We can get away with that. I'm down. And again, you can definitely get carried away with this. But, you know, you can always just keep adding, and then remove as you're just like, okay, that's too much. Sometimes I like to do these. These are more of kind of an advanced technique with the drummer, because you're doing a ghost, and right after you're doing an accent. Ta-ka, ta-ka. I'll show you what it sounds like here. And so just, you know, if you don't want your drummer to hate you, you can't do that, you know. Or if you want to push them, leave it in there. So, yeah. Okay. One thing to think about with these doubles is when you do a ghost note, you're usually kind of letting it bounce. And so your snare, your stick is kind of going dun 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 dun, right? So if you think about it, hard hit, soft hit, hard hit, soft hit. So then on the second one here, you grab the second one of these doubles and you bring them, you come and grab any one that's highlighted, and I just selected them by holding shift, and you bring them down. You can even do, it really varies. Again, it varies on technique. You can either go first one soft, second one soft, or first one soft, second one hard, first one hard, second one soft. You know, it really depends. Sweet. Okay, so we have some ghost notes in there. It looks like we can fill some spots here, and I'll do that quickly. Do something like that, and then I'll grab these, hold shift, bring them down a little bit. Yeah, and I want to do a fill right here, so I'm not too worried about what's going on over here. Now let's listen in context. So I'm going to unsolo the drums. I don't know if you notice, but for me right away, I notice the guitars are too loud. So I'm going to bring them down. Mm. Let's start. Now, again, we're getting those like rushes of like, ooh, let's try this. Let's start with this open. Okay, so then, since we did that there, to quickly do that, we just come up to our bass and we just add it and make it longer. Now, the cool thing about it, like we have this section here, we can always grab these things because it could work in here, you know? I just held Control to duplicate it. That's cool, but I feel like it's still a little naked. Let's see what we can create in here. Actually, we're good. We're good. Oh, you still here? Yeah, we're almost done here. I'm about to wrap it up here soon. I just kind of wanted to get as much as I could in this first section. Okay, so let's... Let's go. Okay, so now, since it's already it's an easy grab, we already know, because I did this here, these long notes at the end, just so we can hear what it sounds like, let's grab everything and duplicate it. So I grab from the top here. And again, we can do that by grabbing our loop. And then since everything is selected, Control D, and it just makes it again. Then I'm gonna extend my loop here. And what I'm gonna quickly do is I'm gonna grab my stack, and I'm basically going to just put it on, let's put it on a cymbal here. So at this point, there's so many ways that we can go about doing this, but one quick way is we can grab all of them and legato them. However, we have this here. And you can see that it's going to play both of these notes at the same time. We need to fix that there. And that's the only one we have so far. And so now let's see what that sounds like with just that change. And actually, we need to do the same thing for the bass. Select all. And we could have, you know what, let's just do that because it's a good learning thing here. Grab this, bring it up, select all, select inside, so we're selected. Select all again, Control A, Shift, up arrow. Actually, down arrow, I'm sorry, because we're in the bass. And then we'll just make this all 100. And then I'm going to change this to be... And then we're going to start it sooner, this part. Oh, didn't mean to duplicate that. I'm so used to having my pinky on Control. I mean, we can do something like that, possibly. Maybe. And then let's duplicate it. Again, these are just me experimenting. Sure. And then instead of doing the long palm mutes, we can make these on the guitar, I'm sorry. Here, make these sustain notes. And then we're getting ready, we're getting prepared for that next section, right? So let's just hear what we have. It might not be the most amazing thing, but it's a bare bones structure of what could be, right? If we continue to just start adding things and moving things around. And okay, just think about this too. Let me just kind of put this out there. Let's say that you're kind of following along with me and you're not really liking what you're doing. Like it's like it's okay, or this kind of sucks compared to this one, blah, blah, blah. Don't be afraid to start over, you know? And one way that you can possibly start over is grabbing everything, don't delete it, and just grabbing it and pushing it aside and starting again. Don't be afraid to do that, because it's only going to make you better. But the key is when you start to make something that you like, try to push it to completion. And we can start getting into song structure. Maybe I'll get into song structure and stuff tomorrow. But I feel like this is such a good, like, let's listen. Let's listen really quick. Put this here. I'm already hearing where it could possibly go, right? And one thing that we're not too worried about right now is the mix. We don't have to worry about it too much, you know? I really don't have anything going on inside of the drums or anything like that. And so, you know, we're not too worried about the mix right now, because that's a whole other can of worms that could take a little while to really get your ears acclimated to what sounds good and blah, 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 and like, you know, blending things together. However, on my master, I have an EQ that I put on there that looks like this. And then I have a multi-band compressor that is, I just used a preset. It's the multi-band compression preset that comes with Ableton. Now, again, if you are on my Patreon and you downloaded this pack here, this pack comes with these already on the session. And so just so you know. But again, we're still on -6 or whatever here. Just for fun, let's just see what this sounds like with our SSL plugin here. Again, this is currently, if you're watching, you know, live, or, you know, what's today? 2/16/2024. Apparently this is on sale. And this is one of my favorite compressors, bus compressors. And so I'm going to put it on the Chris Lordalgi Stereo Finalizer. It already sounds really good. But I'm also noticing I need to turn down the toms a little bit. And I need to turn down the snare a little bit. And I'm just hitting the down arrow. Again, it goes down by 1 dB. Okay, just for fun, another place where I put this SSL comp is on my drum bus. My drum group here. And I'm going to use the punch setting. See how it's too much? I like to keep it within this range here. I don't go out of this. I'm going to bring the kick down because the punch likes to bring the kick up a little bit. Okay. One other thing I'll add just for fun, just so we can hear what it sounds like. I'm going to add flatline 2 to it so we can bring it up. This is a clipper, limiter, and a hybrid of the two. It's such a good plugin. It's one of my favorite limiters. I'm going to put it on hybrid. I'm going to bring the color up. I love Flatline 2 so much. Again, I would highly recommend that you get this. I don't think this is too expensive right now. But I think what you can use instead is like the glue compressor. If you don't want to spend any money right now, kind of has similar stuff. I don't know. There's something about this SSL comp that I just love so much. What stock Ableton plugin would you advise instead of Flatline 2? See how I already spent money yesterday. Oh man, that's kind of difficult. One thing that you could possibly do is let's grab a glue compressor. Might be able to get away with that, and then we'll put a limiter on there and see what that sounds like. And I just typed in limiter under all results. So on my limiter, I'm going to bring my ceiling down just a little bit, and then I'm going to start to bring my gain up. That's actually not bad. So my attack is on 3. My release is on -4, and this is just quick settings. You can always kind of dial these in, you know, mess around with them. but my ratio's at 10, and then I brought my threshold. You can see I'm not getting crazy with it. You know, I'm not going over 5. I'm trying to technically not go over 4 technically, but there's not 4 on here, so that's why I'm kind of keeping that there. I have the stop clip turned on. I brought my ceiling down to -2 and my gain up. And again, I'm trying not to go too crazy with this because I just want to hear what it sounds like at like a mastered level, you know? You can also add some saturation if you just type in saturator. I just typed in satur, and saturator should be at the top. And then you can add this. This adds like some tape saturation or analog saturation, depending on these that you choose here. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to not dive too deep into automation, but if you turn off your keyboard button here and you hit A, you're going to go into automation. And what I want to do is I want to bring this down. So I'm going to highlight it, and you can see this red little line here. If you hold shift, you are only going to affect that there. So if I bring this down, it's only going to bring it down there. So you can see for some reason that really brought that saturator really like brought it up. So I need to bring this down. One thing that we need to do is we need to bring our cymbals down. However, without going straight to our overheads, I'm actually just going to go to the cymbal velocities, because remember I said that they sound better at around 94. However, I want these to accent louder, so I'm just going to grab these here. And I'm going to hold shift and grab the highlighted one, bring it down to 94. So again, it kind of comes down to like a volume game, you know? But for me, again, I love flatline, and I feel like it's just a lot cleaner, and it's totally worth the cash if this is something that you are trying to, you know, get professional sounding mixes, you know? I'm gonna bring this up and then this down. So we still have these that we can mess around with. This is kind of like a little artillery because we were going vertical, right? And we're using them in our sections. So for example, let's get rid of it here. And so you can see with flatline, it just kind of takes this, there's not as many steps. You literally just put it in there, set your color, your threshold, and your envelope, and it's like you're already done, you know? Still in the hobby stage, make do. Yeah, exactly. Completely, dude. And I would say, you know, try that little chain that I did and try to see if you can get it to sound as good as you can, you know. With these plugins, I just realized that it just kind of makes things easier and easier to get the result that you want faster, you know. That's which is why I use them and why I invested in them. But so this is where we made it so far. I feel like we have something really cool going so far, you know, and if you don't think it's cool, then I would challenge you to do it yourself and see what happens when you are making the decisions, right? I'm quickly making these decisions as I'm explaining them. But, you know, sit down, take an hour or two, and you know, just see what happens and try not to get too frustrated on oh, I can't come up with anything. You shouldn't get there if you're using this method, because you can see that I'm not worried about getting inspired and again having to light candles and like do this seance to try and just get inspired. You know, you can use a song that you like as inspiration. You know, if you're jamming music that day, which you should be, just be like, oh, this is sick, I'm going to try to write something like this later today, right? And then start to pick apart like what makes this song this, right? I do this thing every once in a while called Sound Like. It's on my YouTube channel, and you can see the last one that I did was Sound Like Linkin Park, and I'm doing exactly what you're seeing me do here, but just with less explanation. Reason why I wanted to do this is because I feel like I'm doing a lot and I'm not explaining a ton. And so this is for all the homies who are just starting out and who, you know, wants to dive into writing like this. And again, I'm going to complement VST songwriting on this simple thing right here. I want this song to be faster. Guess what? I want this to be 135. We were at 120. Let's go to 135. You'd have to re-record all your guitars unless you had some sort of warp mode or whatever, and still it's like it doesn't sound, you can hear the artifact, you know. It's like, but this way I want it actually at 130. So, but yeah, give it a shot. You know, try these methods here. Again, you didn't see, I didn't really think too hard. I just experimented and let my ear take me where it wanted to and my intuition take me where it wanted to, you know. But I'll be back tomorrow and we'll continue working on this. We'll try to start to really structure it out because we already have some parts that we can use again as like a verse or whatever. You know, and so we'll just continue on. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I want to try to go early again. This was awesome. Going early so I can, you know, I feel like I have a lot of European homies, and so I kind of wanted to cater to you guys today. I know it might be getting a little late for you now, but I really appreciate you. Strigic, appreciate you for stopping by and hanging, dude. And I really hope that this helped you out, homie. Like this is again, this is aimed for the people just starting out. And so if there was something that I still didn't go in depth on, let me know, you know, and I want to help you guys out because I don't want you to not write music because of, you know, your limitations inside of Ableton or your limited knowledge inside of Ableton, you know. Australian. Oh, cool. What time is it on Australia? Hmm. Captain, this was amazing. Gonna definitely try it. Dude, yeah. Thank you, Captain. I appreciate you hanging around, dude. Really super appreciate you guys. And again, this is for all you guys, you know, for you guys hanging out with me and I know that again some of you are new and so this was for you guys. Oh, no, oh nice. Very good. Very good. Awesome. All right, dudes. Well, you know, hopefully expect me at the same time tomorrow. Um, but again, I hope you guys learned a lot. And, you know, hopefully, if you guys didn't learn or you're still confused, see if you can hit me up or send me some sort of message before the next stream, and I'll try to cover it that next stream. Um, check out the Discord if you're not in the Discord. Hit me up on Instagram again if you have any ideas on videos or whatever. But yeah, oh yeah, check out the Patreon too. There's all kinds of other cool things in there. You know, it's not just this. There's other presets for Serum if you have Serum. And then I have some multi-tracks and stuff like that, which I'm going to add my Linkin Park one very soon. But all right, guys, until next time, I appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you tomorrow, okay?